I would really feel sorry if people didn't associate life experiences with music. And some people don't. I get it. It's not their thing. But I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are just like us.
Very sad people.
Yes. Welcome to Music Musing. Every once in a while, my brother George and I would have these conversations about music. Music is our passion, and it's a huge part of our lives, and we decided to share those conversations with you. So if you love music, sit back and enjoy this podcast. Okay, welcome back to Music Musing. Got my brother on the line.
How we doing?
Good. 50. We hit it.
Yep.
50.
Indeed.
Pretty big accomplishment, and we're going to go cliche, but not cliche. Like, everybody, does the 50 or 100 when they do their 100 mark or their 50 mark, and we're kind of doing that, but we're not.
Yes, we are. That's exactly what we're doing.
Well, but it's different. It's not like 50 favorite songs or 50 favorite rock songs or 50 singers, or it's why we started this podcast, because we love music, and music is a huge part of our lives.
Yeah.
That's kind of at the intro, so you'll hear that again. But what we did is we kind of went and took like 50 things about music that affected us. And we're going to talk about a couple of them and kind of hit some of them today. So you guys might want to get comfortable. If both of us have 50, it might take a few minutes to get a couple of those out.
Yeah, I mean, with the intent of some of the more important ones to us, as we're going through our list, we might embellish on a few and try to keep it manageable.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'll start it off with, also preface it by saying that, these aren't in order. We didn't, when we talked about this a couple months ago, we knew it was coming up. We wanted to make this kind of our thing to where we put down what music meant to us in different ways. There's no order. We didn't want to do it in order. It was just more stream of consciousness. Like every time I thought of something or something came up that reminded me of it, I just went and wrote it down,
Yeah.
Kept a piece of paper next to me, wrote on my phone, synced them up when I got home. And just, so like, it's some of it's silly stuff. Like, I'll give you one of mine off the list. So we're dating ourselves, but Metallica at the Grammys.
Oh, yeah.
So watching them perform, one, and being so excited about rock music and metal music at that time, and seeing the look on their faces when they didn't get it. Yeah. That was a big changing moment for me. A big realization that, that rock is really an outcast. Rock's outside. Rock is not something that is for everybody. Everybody can listen to pop, everybody can listen to country, but
yeah.
They're ostracized. They're on the outside, and that moment was very, very important in my listening career at that point. So that's kind of the idea of what we're going for, is just kind of things that hit us and touched us and made us feel something about music. So,
well, these are all like individual specific, and I mean, like, very few of mine actually involve other people even. So,
well, some of mine are just songs. Some of mine are just songs that stuck out to me.
Oh, sure.
Like, and again, I didn't want to go 50 favorite songs, but there are certain songs like I'm gonna say this one, and it might not be on your list, but I want you to tell me how it makes you feel. So it's the Royal Guardsmen, Snoopy versus the Red Baron.
I think of Christmas time because they usually play that at Christmas.
But do you remember growing up and listening to that?
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, the little record that came with the book.
Yeah. Oh man, you know what? I'm close to 50. I've got like 48, but those little Batman records that we had didn't have any music on them, but it had
episodes of the 60s Batman. Yeah. With with
somebody speaking them on a radio, or on the record. Yeah,
but they did that. Wow. When they punch people and stuff, that was awesome.
So give me one off yours.
Forgot about those. Kind of in that same vein, I remember in our house upstairs, our bedrooms were upstairs. We had to actually walk through our parents' bedroom to get to our bedroom in a strange turn of events. But I remember Mom always had the record player upstairs. Had a record player upstairs, and I remember vividly listening to Mr. Roboto by Styx and knowing where the skip is in it. And
you know, you mentioned that before, and I don't know why I didn't put it on my list, because
and it's literally 35, 38 years later, and I still, if that song comes on the radio or something, or if I hear that song, I wait for it and it doesn't do it, and I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong with that song? It really is messed up, that because I for some reason loved that song. Looking back, I couldn't tell you why, but
I can tell you why, because of the voice. I mean, we were young and it was kind of cool to have the robot voice in it,
I guess.
Well, and that kind of throws back to one of mine too, because, you know, I think the record player wasn't always upstairs. It was upstairs for the most part, but I remember when it was downstairs, I remember Dad laying on the floor with the headphones on.
Oh yeah.
And just you know, gone, just lost in music and time. And I don't know if that's where we got our appreciation for it, or if we, you know, if we, you know, got that from them. But songs like that show up on my list are like Battle of New Orleans, by Johnny Horton, you know, and the Mississippi Squirrel Revival by Ray Stevens. You know, those funny songs, and what was Gordon Lightfoot, anything by Gordon Lightfoot, you know, that them listening to that and just kind of letting that smooth sound come out of that stereo. My dad laying on the ground just listening to it with his headphones on and completely spaced out in it.
And they always had, I mean, like the big rack system.
Yeah. And the big, huge bowl headphones on the side of their head.
Yeah, but I mean, the big, huge cabinet radio, you know, record player and 8-track, and I mean the whole deal. I mean, it was like as tall. I remember being like as tall as I was. I had to like stand on my tiptoes to flip the lid up for the record player on top.
Yes, I do remember that. I do remember
the big cabinet. It's gonna bounce around like most of my life here, but I was a junior I was a junior in high school. No, I was a senior in high school. And my buddy Dave, my best friend, still to this day, he had bought a Geo Tracker, a 91 Geo Tracker, and took the back seat out, and we built this box, like with amplifiers on it. And, you know, the whole, like, it had like 4 15s. I mean, this is early 90s.
Do you mean a speaker box?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, it took up literally the entire back of his vehicle. Not that they were huge, if you know what a
crossover amps in the trunk. And,
yeah. And I mean, but I remember, I'm like, well, you know, play something, you know, he had the top, it was a soft top. He had the top off, and our high school back then was out in the country still quite a bit. He played Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. And it was so incredibly loud and crystal clear that it actually hurt to listen to. The guitar, I mean, it like the whole, you know, sting, I want mine.
Yeah.
And then when the guitar hit, it probably echoed, and it had to have echoed like 2 miles.
Wow.
It was that loud. It echoed clear to we had like past the football field, past a pond in the back and the trees. And it was so loud. I remember the teachers coming out of the building. I mean, it was like almost like get off my lawn moment. They're like, turn that
hilarious
down. And it was the loudest I ever remember hearing anything at that time. I mean, I'd been to, you know, a couple of concerts by that time in my life, and it was like, I couldn't believe something could be that loud and that clear. Because he was like one of the first, I mean, it was 91. He was one of the first guys to have like a CD player in his car. And we built this box, and he researched, you know, the amps. It was just insane. But I do remember that vividly. It was cold morning, and it echoed it had to have went miles. I'm sure
they still build like speaker boxes for their car.
Yeah, it's a lot more intricate now, though. I mean, it's a lot more.
Yeah, of course, but
than buying particle board and amps from Radio Shack. But what are you gonna do?
Well, so we kind of touched on music and how it's affected us, and one of the big things for me was, I play guitar. I've been playing guitar for, gosh, am I going to do math here? Kind of scary. Is it 30 years? Getting close to? Holy crap. Through that time frame, I've owned a couple of different guitars, and I'm going to take a few minutes and just kind of talk through them real quick. One of them's pretty special. The first guitar that was handed to me was a red, probably pre Fender, meaning it had the head stock, but the body was a little bit different, and they probably hadn't actually, got the rights for Fender yet. But it was our dad's brother, your namesake.
Yep.
Actually, it was his guitar. George Wayne Seibert the first.
Yep.
It was his guitar. He had actually picked it up, and I guess it kind of stuck in the family. He passed away. He was young, wasn't he?
He was 21.
Yeah. He passed away
1967. Yeah.
And the guitar was passed around a little bit, and I think my cousin Steve brought it out to me one day because he knew I wanted to learn, and handed me that guitar. And that guitar was, there's no replacement for it. I mean, it's gone now. Unfortunately, it kind of got passed through a couple family members and has been lost or destroyed. But it was definitely a meaningful start to me playing guitar, and it gave me a lot of passion for it. The second guitar I purchased was a friend of yours had a younger brother who was playing guitar.
Don't know it.
Yeah, really?
No.
Lot Connell, Shawn.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he had a black guitar.
I didn't know you bought that off him.
Yeah, and the amp. That and the old, it was an old Marshall 20 or 25 watt amp. It was a really nice amp.
I guarantee they overcharged you for it, whatever you bought it for.
I bought both for $100. And I mean, we're talking, 1990, 89, 90. But it was, but I still own that guitar. I airbrushed that guitar. I put the cover of the Watchmen comic book, the 12th issue on it. Stickers all over it. I still use that guitar. The guitar has had the electronics changed out 2 or 3 times, but it plays perfect, completely in tune, no warping on the neck. It is still a guitar I will pull out from time to time and use. Not too long ago, probably about 12 years ago, I finally picked up one of the things I really wanted, which was a Silver Burst Gibson Les Paul custom shop. I sold a bunch of old cards and stuff to get it. That's something that I've always wanted my entire life, was a custom shop. And I thought I was kind of done with guitars at that point. And then so when I first started playing guitar, I'm talking, you're just going to have to wait for a second. When I first started playing guitar, I started learning from a good friend called Anson. Anson Mitchell was his name, and it is his name still. And he had Fenders. He played Fender. He was a shredder. He was an amazing guitar player. He was, I love jamming with him. We jammed with him and a drummer, Kier. And we had a guy that sang for us a little bit. I don't remember his name, but just being across from him and learning at that time and seeing him playing a white Fender, he ended up getting another white Fender and getting it signed by the band Queensryche. And about, I don't know, was it been 2 years ago, year and a half ago? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
He decided he was just going to get unload a bunch of his stuff. And I reached out and said, hey man, do you still have that Fender Strat that I used to see you playing with? Yep, I got it. Make a deal on it. So I picked up a Fender Strat as well, early 90s. And I've picked up a couple small, guitars here and there, but the last thing I've been looking for is a 2001 Les Paul Gothic in good shape. They're really hard to find in good shape. It was a flat black. But those are kind of my tools. Those are the tools that I've used throughout my life, and I've kind of stuck with Vox amps and line 6 amps. I tried Marshalls for a while, didn't too much care for them, but those are kind of the tools that I've come in contact with, and I only talk about these because they've become like artifacts to me. They're mine. They're something that I've lived with. I had actually a Brown 94 Les Paul as well that I sold to actually one of the artists for Magic the Gathering. I sold it to him not too long ago, but that was a part of me. That was something that I, it's one of a kind. They're always going to be something special to do. I know every bump and bruise on that, that Silverburst now at this point. But I just kind of wanted to talk about that. Those were the guitars and amps and stuff have been a big part of my life and have taken me a lot of places. And we'll get to those in a few minutes, but I didn't want to take up too much time. I just want to kind of, check a bunch of those off my list and kind of say how important that playing music has also been in my life as well. So I'll shut up and let you jump in.
No, I mean, it's hard not to like get involved in any sentence you say, because you know how it affects you, and I know how it affects me, and so on and so forth. I mean, what I think I'm going to do, I'm just going to read like a few here, because I mean, 50 is a lot if you think about it. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, not that I struggled, but I struggle with like, towards the last few is like, does that really?
You could do a whole. But you could also probably do a whole podcast on just one of these.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I mean. Yeah. So it was kind of a bittersweet list to make, but I mean, not that you forget any of this. But anyway, I digress. Again, some of these were like towards the bottom of the list, but I'm just going to blow through, and you can, if there's something that sticks out to you, you can kind of.
Okay, I'll stop you.
I know one will, but when the place I work for the school board. I'm a maintenance welder for the school board down here in the county school board. And my director is this short, pudgy little reserved dude that's like all business. I mean, we've talked a lot. I mean, I'm actually, his son was a roommate of mine for a couple of years. Good dude, but straight laced. He does barbecue on the side. He's got like a food truck thing. But I found out within the last couple of years, dude's like a legendary drummer, like can play, like ridiculous. He DJ'd for a while and like plays drums lights out. I mean, I caught a couple videos from his kid when I asked him about it, because it never come up because it's like not a thing really. But yeah, dude's a ridiculously good drummer. Things that like kind of tick me off is censorship in songs, especially on the radio. Like if you're going to play a song that's got a swear word in it, either play the swear word or don't play the song. The one big one that sticks out for me is, and again, Dire Straits' Money for Nothing. They take out an entire verse of that song to be politically correct.
Yeah.
And can't stand it. Just don't play the song. If you're not going to play it the way the artist intended, don't play it at all. Craig's favorite Q105 Starship on Q105, where they We Built This City, they actually inject Tampa traffic into it.
Still listen to it. I try and hear it every single time I hear it. Every time that song comes on the radio, I want to hear it.
No, I know. Years ago, I was on a first date, and we met at this kind of bar restaurant thing. They had a guy with an acoustic guitar playing live music. I'm like, because I knew that was happening. So I'm like, that's, kind of a cool first date thing. Dude played an acoustic version, and he said the name, and I wrote it down. This was years ago, and I had to look it up. It was Juvenile's Back That Ass Up acoustically by himself on a guitar, and it does not work. It did not work, and it still sticks out to me to this day, because seeing a girl that you've just met go to a first date and have a guy do that song acoustically will forever change how you hear people do acoustic music.
What the big question everyone wants to know is, was there a second date?
No, and I'm not sure why. I'm assuming it was because of that. I tell myself it was because of that anyway.
That's hilarious.
seeing Shinedown, or at least the lead singer and guitar player acoustic live at the House of Blues in Orlando was a ridiculously epic show that everybody in the crowd sang along to every song that they did, and it was one of those epic goosebump
just a moment,
but like for like 2 solid hours. Wow. They never. It was just the singer Brent Smith and Zach. I think it's Zach Myers, and they did. 2 hours nonstop, either standing or sitting on stools, and they literally burnt that place to the ground. We took a road trip. Me and 3 other guys. We went backpacking one year, and the only thing we could get in, my buddy's. It was in my buddy's car, and he had the Gorillaz with a Z CD. And that's literally had to listen to that for a 10-hour road trip up and back on repeat. Just that CD was the only thing that would work because it wouldn't come out of the CD player, and we couldn't get anything else on.
Oh, it's just like the Super Bowl commercial from the other night.
Yeah, exactly.
The Nookie.
Yep, I like Limp Bizkit.
Well, the kid singing in the back of the car is just like, it blows me away. I almost rolled off the couch laughing. So
oh, I know, I love it. This might trip you out. Me and my buddy Steve Titus, whom I still talk to, is actually a cop now. Standing outside of the Brass Mug, listening to Pantera out of the car CD, like full blast.
Speaking of the Brass Mug,
is that one of yours?
Well, yeah, were you there? I don't even know if you were there for that the first time Patrick and I ever played out.
I don't think so, no.
Patrick was a singer in my band, Contrast. I'll talk about that in a second, too. But the first time him and I ever played out acoustic, his dad went, I know his dad went, and his sister went. And it was me and him on stage. And there wasn't very many people in there. It was like a Thursday night, but it was open mic night. And we learned the acoustic version of that STP song that I'm like, Plush. And we got halfway through it, and he stopped. He forgot the words, and instead of just moving on to the next verse, he made me stop, like dead stop, and start the song over. Yeah, it was painful. Patrick, if you're listening, man, it was painful. But
that's epic party foul, right there.
That's where we started, man. That's where it came from.
Wow, I don't even know if I'd.
Whew. Well, I'll switch gears to that really quick. I was gonna go through something else, but you want me to jump in for a minute? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I was just clicking some off to get through.
Yeah, I would say that was a calm beginning to a band that I was in for about three and a half years. We played some coffee houses early, even when we got a bass player JT and a drummer Josh Bowles, which. Josh Bowles is probably one of the best drummers I've ever been in contact with. That was kind of the first iteration of Contrast, the band I played in. Came out a lot of writing that I did in high school, a lot of stories that I wrote, a lot of poems that I wrote, a lot of pain, a lot of happy, just all kinds of poems all over the map that Patrick took and basically put words to the music that I was writing, and then the Josh was putting drum beats to it, and just some amazing stuff came out of that. It was early in Creed's career, so we kind of had that feel and sound to it, to our music. Very epic writing songs, like long songs. I mean, I think New Me, if we did the intro, was like, I don't know, 7.5 minutes. Probably some of the best times in my life. We went through a couple, lineup changes throughout those times, but I mean, we opened for Seven Mary 3. We opened for Nonpoint. That Seven Mary 3 show was, I got to go backstage and actually meet Seven Mary 3, the band,
That's
the guitar player, the singer.
Too, yeah.
Huh?
That's on my list too.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably stop right there once I get to the end. I'll let you fill that in on your side of it. I'd like to hear your side of it, but. Yeah. The band was a great outlet for me. It was there. We had T-shirts, we had stickers, we had a lot of people following us. A lot of them were family, and friends. But it was good. We had a rocking time every single time we went out and played. And there were times where we played at this place called the Pegasus Lounge.
That's on my list too, right underneath the Seven Mary 3.
On what's that? What road is that on? It's right across from Busch Gardens, but
it's actually 30th Street.
Yeah, hole in the wall place, but the lady that run it was just a great person. But there were nights where we didn't even go on until 2 a.m, and there were people just that couldn't see. I mean, there was like 4 people in there that couldn't see, but they were still just digging us and rocking out.
I could stand on my toes and touch my head on the ceiling in that place.
Yeah, it was definitely a hole in the wall. But we've also and we've also played places like the Ybor, what was it?
The Ritz.
The Ritz? No, it wasn't the Ritz.
No,
it was
Masquerade. I'm sorry.
Masquerade in Ybor City when it was big, and I mean, national acts went through there all the time. That's where we opened for 7 Married 3.
Yeah.
But being in that band was a great outlet for me to write music and to be around guys who really cared about music and passionate about it. And there were times when we thought we wanted to go somewhere with it, but honestly, people write their bucket lists, and I can say that is definitely a check mark for me to be able to share music that I created and have a great bunch of guys running through me. JT left the band, and then we picked up John Birkenfield, who is on BurkeReviews.com. He's got his own podcast now for movies. We still stay in touch. He's actually been a guest on here, and his friend Mike ended up filling in for drums when Josh left. It was just a great bunch of people, and it had its time, it's run its course. But I'm dying to hear your side of the 7 Married 3 show.
Oh, it was just cool. I mean, because I was one of the 4 people standing in the Pegasus Lounge, at 2 a.m, and to see it kind of come to fruition or kind of full circle, and to see you guys get a shot. I hate to say it, any way other than that. It was just really cool to know what was coming. It never seemed like, or it just seemed like that's the way it should have been, I guess. And I mean, for me, I went to quite a few, shows as often as I could.
Yeah. You were at a lot of our shows.
But I mean, it was one of those things that, I just dig and I dug the music and the vibe. And I was one of those guys that went, for the sound rather than, and I get kind of a secondary cool points was, I get to see a lot of other bands, a lot of other cool opening bands, a lot of other,
Rigid actually is on my list as well.
Met a lot of other dudes, and and by being involved in the whatever local music scene, that band Lie is on my list. We see them at Skipper's, or where was that?
That was actually at the Brass Mug.
Okay, that was at the Brass Mug then.
Yeah, it was. So look, we've put Lie on our list of our Spotify list at some points in the past. It's on Spotify. Go look them up. L.I.E. And they're a phenomenal band. They should have been at the time that they were out, when the bands that they were playing,
they were better than 80% of the grunge bands out there.
Yes, and they were amazing.
Three-piece dudes, and
yep.
Bass player was off the charts, ridiculous. They were good.
But you're right. We as contrast, we formed a pretty big friendship with a band called Rigid, and their singer Patrick were really good friends.
John, what was his name?
No, God, I'm gonna blank on his name now. Anyways, he used to come up and sing some choruses with us because he knew our songs and we knew their songs and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, they like you said, meeting a lot of those other just general nice guys. In fact, Thera was the guy that sang and played for Thera was the one that actually recorded our quote unquote album. We actually went and paid and had an album recorded, and he was the one that actually had a recording studio. That's how we got connected with that as well. They were, a pretty cool band that we played on a semi-regular time with as well.
Yeah.
I don't want to, stick to that too much, but, going through that seeing that local scene, I think came out of stuff like Livestock.
Yeah. Getting the car stuck at Livestock was my next thing.
Yeah. You want to explain what Livestock is, or you want me to take that one?
It was basically the local rock station, 98 Rock out of Tampa. They set up this, more or less obviously the tying into Woodstock. It was out in a field in Zephyr Hills, Florida. It was this
a cow field, an actual cow field.
Yeah, a festival thing where the first one, I mean, they basically set a stage up, hooked a couple big speakers up, and it rained, and it was a mud hole, and it was, pretty much, I wasn't heard, researched Woodstock, and more than less the same situation. I remember waking up and the dude next to us was drinking George Dickel and cooking eggs on a fire, and
he was drinking it out of the bottle.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Straight up, man, making eggs, and
breakfast.
That was And we went to the first couple. You went to the first couple as well, didn't you? I mean,
yeah, I think so.
I think we went to 1, 2, and then maybe 4, but it got to the point where it was just too much. Like there was people getting killed in the parking lots.
It got
driving through the parking lots. But
stupid.
But there were some moments there that Leonard Skinner played one year, and Mike Jeffrey, one of my friends from high school, and I just stood out there and watched these two guys play guitar for Leonard Skinner and went, "This is, it's surreal. You're standing there in the middle of the dark with this huge stage in the middle of an open field and lights everywhere, and these two guys are just trading off licks like it's not funny. I mean, it was amazing." Yeah. I saw Soundgarden there, and they were. I'm like, who is this band, Soundgarden? I have no idea who they are. And then they started, and I'm like, holy crap! But we also saw bands like Dangerous Toys and Every Mother's Nightmare, and who else? What was the local two guys that used to do the acoustic stuff in those CD stores?
Oh man, that should have been on my list. What was those dude's name?
We used to go see them play acoustic sets. And that guitar player was amazing.
Yeah,
what was their name?
Dude, no,
I'm gonna blank on it.
Sucks. Yeah, no.
But anyways, but bands like that played there as well, and that's kind of where I think I got that taste for wanting to do that, wanting to play on a local stage and kind of pound out the dust and play in those places like the Pegasus Lounge and the Brass Mug and stuff like that in Tampa. I'll jump off that. I just wanted to share those kind of that the whole band thing
clicked off some of mine too.
Yeah,
so it worked both ways.
Yeah, a lot of things like that in my life, nothing's going to influence me more than playing in that band and doing the stuff we did. We played covers. I actually, one of the things on my list was Paranoid War Pigs. We used to end our show with we'd start with Paranoid. We drift into War Pigs because it's the same type of chords, and then we drift back into Paranoid and finish it up. And there's even video out there. I'll link to it. But, stuff like that was, it's just, it was timing. It was just the perfect time in my life. So, so give us a tangent. Take us somewhere else.
Well, going back a few years, I remember I got a lot of my music addiction cured from Columbia House CDs. Like buy one for a penny and get like 4. You had to buy like 14, or you get 30 for a penny and then you have to buy 14 over the next year or whatever it was.
Did anybody actually ever buy all of those?
I think I did, because I did it like 2 or 3 times. I had like 100 and some CDs at one point, and I spent like $12.
Still have 100 and some CDs.
Yeah, so do I. But most of mine's digital now. Moving forward, Craig and I used to every weekend go to the Oldsmar Flea Market to pick up Iron Maiden posters. And I'm pretty sure we had Somewhere in Time, we had Power Slave, we had The Trooper.
I still have Somewhere in Time. I still have it.
Because my dad actually took them out and got them laminated for us so they wouldn't fade. No joke. But I remember I was on the back of my door. The Trooper, the Eddie the Head, with him holding the Union Jack, the shredded Union Jack. I just thought that was so bananas. And I mean,
is it the one where he's in the airplane shooting out
Ace is
window?
High.
Yeah, Ace is High. I had that one.
Yeah, dude, I literally like everything. Power Slave, the one where he's in the padded room.
But seriously, would you be okay? We both have kids.
No.
Let's get that out of the way. Would you let them put that on the wall?
No.
I mean, you're probably younger than they are now.
Yeah. I mean, really, it was I mean, those were epic. And that, I really only had like a small dose of Iron Maiden. I literally heard Run to the Hills, Number of the Beast, and Wasted
2
Years.
Minutes to Midnight?
No, this is way before. I mean, I heard Run to the Hills, Number of the Beast, and Wasted Years because of V32. We'd come home, and those are like the 3 Iron Maiden videos. And
yeah, true.
That they would play. And then they 2 Minutes to Midnight and Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I think they started playing that like in the 90s there. But I remember like could not wait because they were only like $2 back then, you know, and we'd mow the yard or whatever it was and could not wait to go to Oldsmar Flea Market. And we knew exactly where this place was, and dude had every single one.
I could see it.
And it wasn't just Iron Maiden, to be sure. I mean, he had every band, I mean, from Warrant to Winger to Led Zeppelin to Iron Maiden, obviously. And I do remember going out there, and he also sold the patches because I had a denim jacket, which is my next thing. I had a denim jacket with all my like Anthrax patches, and like I had a Judge Dredd back patch and everything sewn onto a denim jacket, which you like those. And let's see. I went through a Bob Marley phase just out of high school where I couldn't get enough.
Dude, I'm going to edit that part out.
Couldn't get enough reggae. And that's why, and I always loved the Police, and I finally realized that, that they were using a reggae beat, and it really, and then it made a whole lot of sense, and I couldn't get enough Bob Marley for a while.
Redemption song still echoes with me, and I that's one of the rare songs that I play electric guitar. I don't play a lot of acoustic. We did when we started the band, but that's one song that I will still pick up the guitar and just strum out because the man had heart. I mean, the man had a lot of heart in his music. Oh yeah, dude. If you actually get into Bob Marley, that guy's. I mean, yeah, I was joking before. He's definitely real deal. Yeah, I mean, I don't want inspiration. Spend a ton of time. But let's see. People that turn you on to new music are my people. People that send me. People that send, I mean, even if bad or good, but I mean the ones. Well, you know what? I'm going to tie on to that. Yeah, fine. I'm going to interrupt you, and I'm going to tie on to that because one of the ones on my list are kind of that idea, and I think I'm going to take it back a little bit. You're talking specific about people that come up to you and say, "Hey, listen to this. Hey, check this out." Oh, I mean, like friends and stuff. Yeah. But so for me, it was me paying attention to people and listening to what they're listening to, and sniffing out and going, "Hey, what's that?" Yeah. The Bleach album was foreign to me. When Nirvana Nevermind came out, it was like, this is amazing. I at the time, I loved that sound. Still like that sound. But a girl I was dating at this time had the Bleach album and was listening to it. I'm like, what is this? What's going on? What is it that you're listening to? Yeah. And then through that, I started looking for, hey, are there other bands out there that have this? That's how I found Livewire by Motley Crue. I started looking for these early albums, and I think it's because I just pay attention to what people are listening to instead of, hey, they're listening to something, I'm just going to ignore it and pass on by it. What are you listening to? Talk to me. Tell me what you're listening to. Same way with the Misfits. I was aware that Metallica liked the Misfits. I knew who the Misfits were. I'd seen the Skullface 100 times. Yeah. But until I met a girl at a party one time where she was telling me her brother was a huge Misfits fan, I didn't think anything of it. But as soon as that trigger went off in my head, I went back home and started getting everything I could Misfits. Yeah. I went back and re-listened to Garage Days because, Green Hell, is that on Garage Days 1 or 2? It's revisited. Okay. Green Hell's on there. And their cover of that just blows me away every time. But if you go back and listen to the original, it's just about as good. But through that, instead of, yes, people have said to me, hey, check this out, or, hey, listen to this and maybe you might like it. And it's been, like you said, it's either been sometimes bad or sometimes good. Yeah. But I think just paying attention to the world around you and what your friends are listening to, because you might not like it, but you might discover something really cool. Well, which is good.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Paying attention, but I was going to word association that ties into another one is people association. Like, you remember what girl told you about her boy or brother or whatever listening to the Misfits. Yeah. Like certain songs remind you of certain people, or certain bands remind you of certain people. So that people association, that's like real high up on my list. Is like, if I hear a certain song, I think of a certain place or a certain person that told me about it, or I heard about it, or I was with, or whatever. Like, the Pantera and with Steve Titus in the Brass Mug parking lot type of thing, or my buddy Dave playing Money for Nothing. Certain songs remind me of certain situations that I'll never be eclipsed because of their epicness. And the song doesn't even have to be that good. It just can be like, whatever, we got in a car wreck and Creed was on or whatever. So.
And there's no way that we're the only people out there like that.
Oh, it's not even possible. No.
If we are, I feel sorry for everyone else on earth but us.
Yeah.
I know it's not true, but I do. I would really feel sorry if people didn't associate life experiences with music. And some people don't. I get it. It's not their thing. But I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are just like us.
Very sad people.
Yes. well, and people and association, I'll kind of tag that back into something I was going to talk about earlier. Your buddy Steve Schmidt, who we knew in Ohio, and his introduction to what became my obsession for probably a serious obsession for probably 15 years after that. Still love AC/DC, but at that point in time, it basically just flipped a switch on me.
Yeah.
I went.
You did the same thing with Anthrax with me. That's all my.
You did. You. Well, it's funny. So he needs to get like a lot of credit. But from there, I went and bought box sets. I found Australian versions of songs that are slightly different, and that started kind of what I was talking about with Bleach. It started making me listen and look for the rare stuff. It's why I found out about Kerplunk. It's why I found out that. Dirty D's Done Dirt Cheap is different on the Australian version than it is on the one they play on the radio nowadays. I bought a record box set that was in like a metal looking box that had
actual chains on it.
Yeah, it had actual chains for the handle, but it had all the Australian album pressings of AC/DC's albums, their original first, I think 5 albums, and a patch and a sticker and a little book and everything. And I just became obsessed with them. I found everything I could that was put out by them at any point in time. The only thing I haven't found is some recording somewhere of Bon Scott doing something off of Back in Black. I know it's out there. I swear it's got to be out there. But even possible. Like I was so obsessed that like I would be listening to AC/DC while I was watching movies, and I would fast forward or stop a song or play a song to match up with a scene from a movie. And I distinctly remember watching The Untouchables, and there's a scene where they break in and they're shooting everything up, and I actually made There's Gonna Be Some Rockin' by AC/DC sync up to that scene in that movie.
Oh, wow.
And I became so obsessed with one band, it wasn't fun. I still love AC/DC, but I think through that is where I started looking for the hints, the small things. Like one of the other things on my list is The Wall by Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Because
I love the movie, but there's a soundtrack out there. There's a soundtrack that has different versions of the songs from Pink Floyd's The Wall that is
the movie.
The movie soundtrack. Yeah. It's still the same songs, but they're different versions of it. And you can hear some of the movie in the background. I think that's through the AC/DC experience I've really kind of dug deep and found those little small things. I think I played it for you. I don't know if I played it for you, sent it to you, but the 59 sound by Gaslight Anthem. It was on a 98 Rock recording in their green room that I found somewhere. And the song is amazing. And it's not out there. You can't find it unless you have that particular CD. Yeah. So I think through that experience, I've kind of went and found those small things that are secret. And I was probably way too obsessed with AC/DC at the time, but I think it taught me something about music, about finding music and going out and searching things.
Yeah. Super quick side note to that. I think David Gilmour is probably, I'm not even going out on a ledge. I'm going to say David Gilmour is the most underrated guitar player in a band that most people love.
Are we going to do this?
No, I'm not. No, I'm skipping. My Stevie Schmidt story is I still have the actual Among the Living cassette. He's like, dude, come upstairs. You got to hear this song. We were on vacation from Florida, and I was like 14. You got to hear this song. And he was a big comic book geek, and he was into Judge Dredd. And he played I'm the Law. He's like, this is about this comic book. They're comic book geeks too. And I couldn't give two craps less. I couldn't even tell you right now. I mean, I even had some Judge Dredd comic books, but that song is burnt into my core. I have heard it. I've listened to it. I mean, I've listened to it ad nauseum, and it's still, it's got one of the, I don't know how, it's got one of the most badass opening riffs to a song. I mean, it's immediate. And that song, and then like, I literally played that cassette backwards and forwards until it stretched out. I mean, till where it was actually like slowing down.
Wow, that's insane.
And I still have the cassette. And and that skips over to one of the other things on my list is you and I went. They were in concert, and they did an in-store signing, and they actually signed the inside of that. They signed that cassette cover, and it is so sadly like Lord of the Rings. That's my precious. That's one of my most prized possessions, is that stupid ass little paper cassette cover signed by the band. That band, I wasn't maybe as far as you were with AC/DC, or maybe they didn't have that much catalog, because I mean, they only had two. Well, that was their second. Basically their third album, more or less. They had Metal Thrashing Mad. They have Spreading the Disease, which really got them on the map. And then Among the Living, and they were on tour for the State of Euphoria. That's another one on my list. That was my first concert. Was Anthrax, Exodus, and Helloween. And when I was like 15 years old, and I had no earthly idea, never saw moshing, didn't know what moshing was, had no idea what these people were doing. And Exodus had a song called The Toxic Waltz at the time. They were touring that
Still love that
album.
song.
Yeah. Had no earthly clue. At 15 years old, I'd been to, I think we saw like Paul Revere and the Raiders with mom and dad at the fair.
Well,
and, crap
concerts
like that,
we wanted to go to.
Right.
Is what you're talking about.
But like this was, I mean, they like, there was an actual, it was the first time, and I had like seats like up on the side. Thank God I wasn't on the floor, because I would have probably been dead. I wouldn't be having this podcast, because I was serious. But I remember like being awestruck, and it's their thing now. But when they played Indians, when he does the war dance thing, I thought the place was going to burn to the ground. I mean, I thought people, they were like trying to start fires, like lighting their shirts on fire in the floor, trying to, I mean, this was, late 80s, 88, 89, I think, somewhere in there. And it was, I mean, that checks off 3 or 4 more off my list, but it was like, that was so epic, because I still moderately like the band. I mean, they're still, still cool. They need to hang it up, kind of like a lot of 80s metal bands do.
David Lee Roth.
I said metal bands like Megadeth, Metallica. A lot of these bands need to stop. They just need to stop.
Yeah.
If you want to lip sync and tour, on your laurels or whatever, I wouldn't even fault you for that, because if you've seen David Lee Roth trying to sing lately, "Dear God in Heaven,"
okay,
that's a bad thing.
It's kind of funny, because I didn't actually put concerts on here, but I've seen AC/DC, I've seen Creed a couple times, but my first I've seen Kiss without makeup.
That's on my list too. Kiss without makeup, right there. Boom.
We saw Danger, and Trickster opened for them.
It was Kiss. I thought it was Slaughter and Danger.
Firehouse. Danger was there. That's all I know. I don't remember.
No, it was I was Slaughter, because Vinnie Vincent
play both.
No, he Mark
Slaughter.
Yeah, but Mark Slaughter sang with
Paul Stanley,
Vinnie Vincent.
Oh, Vinnie Vincent. Oh, okay.
And the Vinnie Vincent Invasion.
Yep.
And there was a connection through that.
Well, I was trying to think of my first. Yeah. I'm pretty sure the first concert that I elected to go to was after that little Misfits thing. Glenn Danzig came in concert. So Danzig came in concert. And they had two unknown bands opening for him. But seeing Danzig was amazing. It was awesome. But the two unknown bands were Marilyn Manson and Korn with a K.
Oh, wow.
Relatively unknown bands at the time. And
what the hell would they be touring together for?
And it was at the fairgrounds, so it was like open floor.
Goodness. Wow.
That was my first concert. So I got a couple quick stories. You'll like this one. The Boston album has a special meaning for me. When I was in sophomore year high school, I was dating a girl, and her parents were stoners, and they would. Yeah. Oh, you did not know Jenny's parents were stoners?
Come on, dude.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Are you being okay? You're serious.
I'm joking.
So they would go into the room, put the Boston album on as loud as they could, and listen to it. Air quotes are in the sky. Air quotes. Listen to it.
Right.
Which was fine for me because I got to hang out with my girlfriend and alone. But yeah, that I could just remember that album playing over and over and over again. I would go over and hang out with her and her parents would just off to the room. Towel in front of the door, window cracked open. Boston. Yeah. First Boston album, front to back.
I ain't mad at him.
I know. I didn't figure you would be for that one. But shortly after.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, because of all these 50 things, there's like we all know that there's an immovable number one, and it says number one, period, Boston dash more than feeling.
Everybody that listens knows. Whatever.
So.
Anyway,
well, just check that one off my list.
I'm actually going to change. No, I'm going to change gears and talk about something else then, real quick. This podcast is huge for me. I've had the talent to do this kind of stuff for a while, and never put two and two together. That I love talking music with you. It is the one thing that has been probably the best thing that's brought us together, you and I, and. To have this podcast and be able to talk about it on a regular basis, not only that, but also share it and have people enjoy it and talk to us about it, has been instrumental in my music career. We've met people like Pete Pardo from CO Tranquility. We've met people like
Jeff Young.
Megadeth We've met JP from Dishwalla. We've met some amazing people out of this and been in contact. Brent Schlinker has us on his live thing every once in a while to talk to us about music. It's not, I jokingly said that earlier, but it's not just us. Music affects people differently, completely differently, but still in ways that we're talking about. There's a reason we're having this 50th episode, not just to be my top 50 songs, which there's some songs on my list, but it's 50 things that affected me about music, and that's why we wanted to do this. So,
yeah.
And one of the things that people that listen to our podcast know is that Boston is number one on your list, and now you've checked it off.
Yeah. Well, so since we were kind of skirting it, we talked about it, we kind of skirted it. I'm gonna check off like most of my concert ones.
Okay.
Let's see,
Lie. You said Lie already.
Yeah. Lie was on there. One of my favorite punk bands is Authority Zero. I've seen them half a dozen times. I've seen the lead singer, and one of them was like, I at 40. Well, I'm 45 now, but a couple of years ago, it was like. He was coming in concert, but it was like a Monday night. And it's an hour drive away. And, I knew he wouldn't even go on to like midnight. And I'm like, yeah. But I had talked myself out of it. But I came home, got a shower, and decided and drove over there and sat there. And it was one of the two guys that opened for him. It was an acoustic solo set. Blew me away. Dude's mega talented. I work my assistant crew chief is cousins with the bass player in Vintage Trouble, and he's like, "Hey, you should come see my cousin's band." And they've since been in like a Honda commercial, and they opened for AC/DC over in Europe, and I mean they're epically huge, super nice dudes, and it was like one of their first shows. Guys from St. Pete, and it was in at the I can't think of the name of the place now. But anyway, got to see them earlier in their career and just like an epic burn down show. And again, Authority Zero at the local 662, it's like holds 250 people, and that the whole place was bouncing. I think the roof actually bounced with the people. It was just one of those.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Just one of those shows that you can't even display to somebody, or even explain to somebody. I won free tickets to see Rush a couple of years ago. And again, Steve Titus went with me for that deal because he's a huge Rush fan. Just totally epic show. I mean, they were in their 60s then and played 3 hours and didn't even like walk off stage. Yeah, I mean, that will forever be just super rad. And like the biggest concert thing that stuck, I'd never done anything like that before, and decided I was going to the Midtown Music Festival in Atlanta to see the Black Keys because they were going to be there, and I didn't realize how big or how epic that was. There's literally 2 stages that like probably 100,000 people can stand in front of each one, and they just literally like one band would go off one stage and everybody would funnel over to the other one, and the next band would start and they would switch the other stage for the preceding. I mean, like Radiohead was there. Yeah. But wow. It was huge. It was epic. And, it was like a 6-hour road trip, got a hotel room and went, and just, it was the first time I saw the Black Keys, and they were like, it was totally epic to go in that setting. It was just, a little bit beyond ridiculous. And I think that's most of my concert.
Well, while you're looking, highlights. I will tag onto that I saw the Beastie Boys in concert.
Oh, yeah, see.
Yeah.
Never got that memo, but man.
No, they were amazing. Their opening act was a dog show, and when I say a dog show, it was a guy in a frumpy suit with a brown hat having dogs jump through hoops and walk on tight ropes. Oh, yeah. Not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. But they did come out and play their instruments. They did Sabotage with actual, because they were a punk band technically before they started. They came out and played real instruments, and it was amazing. It was over the top. I kind of actually didn't put that on my list. Concerts for me are kind of more, I don't know. They're more for me to go and get the experience of being there. Like I don't tend to associate the concerts with too much. You do, and I'm not taking that away from you. I'm just saying that I remember going to them, and I remember enjoying the music, but I don't really remember putting a connection to those things, to people or places or anything like that. But
right.
So I'm going to say 2 things. They're separated by time, quite a bit of time, but they kind of mean the same thing. And it's LimeWire and Pandora. I know. So
aids for your computer and oh no.
Well, but seriously, we've come through everything. When music was in our life when we were kids, there were 8 tracks, and there were albums. And then they moved to cassettes very shortly after we started kind of listening to music. Cassettes moved to CDs. CDs moved to, thumb drives or digital media. And now we're in this age where I can subscribe to Pandora for, $7.99 a month and listen to whatever I want.
Right.
It's bad and good. It really has taken away what some of musicians can do with their music and get, paid for their talents. But LimeWire wasn't. It was wrong. It was very wrong.
Sure.
But I can tell you that.
Well, Napster, pick one.
Napster, LimeWire. Yeah. But I can tell you, though, that 50% of the people that I came in contact with were using one of those two, LimeWire or Napster.
Oh, only 50?
And, well, that's being conservative. But what I'm saying is I think now that even though it makes it harder for new musicians or even old musicians to get money for their stuff, I think they're getting money. They weren't before.
Right.
But coming through that whole chain of audio, consumption that we've went through, I don't think there was any better time to listen to music than right now. I don't think there's any better time than I pay for Pandora and I pay for Spotify because A, I want to support those bands, and B, I want to pull up Appetite for Destruction and listen to it when I want to. I want to pull up ABBA when I want to. I want to pull up ABBA's greatest hits and I want to listen to all of ABBA with my headphones on. Secret, it's actually on my list. One of those, little guilty pleasures is I want to pull that album up. I want to listen to it.
Right.
I went in the other day and my son and I, we got the family contract with Spotify. So he builds playlists and I build playlists. The problem is it picks kind of songs based off of your playlist listening, and his playlists are just, we got to have a conversation. But seriously, I don't think there's a better time than right now for consuming music. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to touch on is, we've come a long way through this. Kids nowadays who basically have Pandora and Spotify, started with that, are never going to know that, pencil to rewind the tape or fast forwarding to the end of the tape to listen to one song and going, man, if I want to listen to the beginning of this tape, I either have to listen to the other side or have to rewind the whole thing. They're never going to understand scratches on a CD.
Out of my Walkman.
Yeah. They're never going to understand scratches on a CD completely ruining what you own. One scratch and it's done. You cannot listen to this anymore.
Yes.
Records, you scratch a record, it's done. 8 tracks, it's tapes, they get eaten, they're done. They're not going to know that artifact that we had. You talked about an album cover that signed. I've got a couple as well. Lillian Axe signed one for me. I saw them, somewhere in St. Pete. But that stuff that's not around anymore. There's no liner notes. There's no, you don't look up, you don't get the album so you can get the lyrics. You just Google it, or you just go to Pandora and it gives you all of it. Yeah. Wow.
What a time to be alive.
Ask Jeeves.
There you go.
But I wanted to touch on that too. I wanted to, just basically make that a point that, because we've lived through this, I think that's why it makes music a little more, important to us. And even MySpace. MySpace was a thing before Facebook. Hey kids, listen to this. Go check out MySpace. It was what Facebook was before Facebook.
Yeah.
But MySpace was really geared towards bands. It was kind of a space for bands to get their followings and get people to follow them. And it was set up to, announce shows and stuff. And I actually had this crazy idea that I would create a magazine called Space Bands that would find these bands that were unheard of and kind of feature them, 2 or 3 a month. And I never did anything with it, but stuff like that, when I was in a band, it was hard to get people to come to the shows.
Yeah.
How did we printed neon flyers and went to a local college and put them on cars.
Yeah.
I know that's weird nowadays, but.
Oh, yeah. Well, you go on Google Hangouts and 10,000 people know about it.
Yeah. You share one picture on Instagram and 50 people share it, and then 150 people share it, and 1,000 people share it. So.
Oh, yeah.
You got anything left on yours? I got quite a bit. So.
Oh, yeah. I got a few. I've probably got 20 left. I don't know.
What do you got?
The first time I heard Vulgar Display of Power.
Oh, jeez.
Changed my life.
Did it actually knock you down? Did you physically fall down?
More than less, yeah. I heard This Love on the radio. I'm like, oh, what's that? ooh, what's that? And I went and bought the CD immediately. And
oh boy, you were shocked.
Boy, was I shocked. Because I was like, oh, Anthrax this is heavy. No, they're fast and crunchy. Vulgar Display of Power was, I mean, for no pun intended, was a new level. I was astonished in 91 or 92, I think, when that came out. Changed my life. Everything I was feeling or thinking as an angry teenager. Oh my God.
It was right there.
Did that put an exclamation point on it? And I mean, it saved me a lot of problems. And that may sound stupid, but like I got my aggression, my anger, my pain, my whatever out through that time. And then it escalated, you know, when Far Beyond Driven came out. they stepped.
I mean, the cover says it all, right?
Yeah, I mean, and again,
both of them say exactly what you're going to feel when you put that album on.
Yeah, if you put Vulgar Display of Power, it's inexplicable. I mean, if you don't get it, you're not gonna. And I mean, again, I don't want to waste. I don't want to say waste. I don't want to put too much stock in that. But that album changed how I heard music, because there's like, oh, you know, you can't understand what he's saying. I understood every word he said, and I felt every word he said. It made perfect sense, and it was crystal clear to me at that time, and it still is. And that kind of trickles into. Hearing Dime got killed, Dimebag Darrell, when he was killed on stage there in December. How
long ago has that been?
08, I think. No.
Wow.
No.
It's been longer than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, longer than that. 04. It's been 15 years-ish.
It wasn't too long after we stopped Contrast, I think.
Yeah, but I was actually living in Ohio, and he got killed in Ohio on stage, and I was, man, dude, I was a wreck. I mean, I was bummed when Stevie Ray Vaughan died, and a lot of these other musicians, and still am to an extent. I mean, even since Scott Weiland, Chris Cornell, I love this. You're a guitar guy. I'm a lyric and vocal guy. I mean,
because it's funny because all the guitarists that have passed away came to mind for me, like Prince and.
Well, yeah, but there's the Dimebag. Sang some backing vocals and stuff, but that guy was different, and that totally bummed me out. And I'm gonna push. Well, I'll pause for a second. Cover songs. Period. That's like
it's funny. Number 27 on my list is cover songs.
That's number 20 on mine, and it's. I love cover songs, good ones, bad ones. I love mocking bad ones, and I absolutely love when people take their time and do it right. And
yes,
that says a lot of the about sincerest form of flattery. Imitation. It really that's epic to me if they get it right.
I think that's why I really like those Metallica albums where they took songs that influenced them.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily made them better, but made them their way.
Yeah.
And that's what I think separates cover songs is when people make it their way.
Yeah.
I like it. Like this Toto song that Weezer's done.
No.
It's just almost the original.
Yeah.
But when you take something like
Whiskey in the Jar.
or Sound of Silence. I mean, whether you like that new version or not, they made it theirs. They made that something that is totally different.
And I had no idea Dave Draymond could sing like that, by the way.
Yeah, no kidding.
until I heard that. Moving on, I just wanted to touch one thing real quick. Lisa Loeb, just because damn.
I'm sorry, we're on a rock.
I know.
Podcaster. What are you doing?
Google Lisa Loeb and tell me what you think about that. mom making mixtapes off 8-track to do her.
I had her boombox on here was what I had, but not necessarily the tapes.
Boombox, the 8-track were on top and the cassette was in the front. Magic Carpet Ride by Steppenwolf because of my dad dancing to it.
Still see him doing that dance.
Right. And that will be forever burned in my mind as a totally happy memory. Much like when I had Matt was my roommate. He brought out this Lamb of God album, and Jake, my kid, was like 3 years old, and he played Omerta, and Jake was like moshing and like just bouncing his head and like dancing around the room, like moving his arm there, like, wow, all right, that is my kid, you know. And it was just kind of one of those epic moments for a time. I don't want to skip some, but I mean,
I'm going all around my list. I've got like holes everywhere.
Yeah, no, I've got holes too. That's why. You'll probably want to pause on this one or elaborate. I'll let you. This is one I'll say and you can elaborate on. Heaven by Warrant at Patrick's house.
It wasn't actually at Patrick's house. It was actually at Anson's house.
Was it at Anson's house?
Oddly enough, I've been transferring all of those tapes over, those cassette tapes of our recordings from that time.
Yeah.
And it was actually Kier and Anson and you and Pat Dodd and me at Anson's house in that little back room. I found the recording of the day.
I thought that was in the garage at Patrick's.
I kind of did too. And when I listened to it, I'm like, oh, wait, this is... And it's funny because Anson actually starts playing the traditional chords that are in that. And I remember you, and he even says, you know, like 4 or 5 names right in a row, but he starts playing it. And I think you actually started singing it. Then everybody else just kind of chimed in. If I can find a recording, I'll see if there's a way for me to get it up so you can hear it. But it was actually... But yes, the experience was definitely...
I'll own that.
It was good too.
Oh yeah. Well,
the only reason I know that is because I've literally been going through all those tapes of Patrick and I in his garage, and Anson and Kier and I, and playing in his house and stuff, and where I did open mic recordings and stuff. All that stuff I've just been transferring over to digital and getting rid of the tapes itself. So yeah, I did find that the other day.
That's awesome.
I've got a couple songs that I'm just going to cross the songs off my list, and really short stories on them. Higher by Creed is still going to be, I will stop when that song starts, and I will, it touches me in completely different ways than any other song. And I'll tie that in, actually pause that for a second. I'm going to go to another song. I'll come back to that. Fade to Black by Metallica was one of the first songs that I learned, both acoustic and electric, and is still probably number 2 on my Metallica list. I would say that I can't think of too many other songs that would be above it other than one. But to tie that in, and Justice for All album, it's still an album. We've talked about this before, but I put it on my list because it's still an album that I can literally put on and start to finish and not be interrupted completely.
Yeah, that's one of the few for me too. That's and it's disappointing, you know, all the back now, you know, when it comes out now, all the back crap without the bass and all that other stuff.
Doesn't matter. The album's still amazing. Black by Pearl Jam. That 10 album was instrumental in a lot of what grunge became, but the fact that we covered it as a band, in contrast when I play with them, and that song's just a deep song anyways, still hits me. I know this was not one you care about, but Paradise City is still one of those songs that I cannot turn up enough, especially at the end of the song.
They're coming in concert.
I just stop.
They are.
I do. Have you heard the new? We're not. No tangents.
Yes, I have. Yep.
No tangents.
But yeah.
The So Far So Good So What album. We just moved to Tampa, and I was hanging out with a friend named Shane, Thomas now, but Shane at the time, and I think that album really brought us to a different level. We were in middle school, and it just kind of became our anthem. A lot of the songs off that album became our anthem, and then to have, a conversation with the person that physically played guitar on that album made it astronomically more important in my life to come full circle to talk to Jeff Young about that album and just kind of hear his stories. But that album was very instrumental to me as well. And the only other song that I have that's still rock was Talk Dirty to Me by Poison. It's the first solo I learned in playing guitar. I must have listened to that song a million times.
That's
you probably you probably listened to that song a million times. Only because I did. And then Hum by Stars, or Stars by Hum, is still a song that I just wait for that slam. And that band was amazing. Anyways, for me, it was a kind of a relatively unknown band in the early '90s, and I love that song. That song still gets me down at the bottom when it comes on. That's kind of the songs that I had that are rock songs. Yeah. I'll go back to Creed, and I'm going to tie it into something. So, Creed gets bad rap a lot for attitudes, for slash Christian rock, slash God rock, whatever you want to call it. Not blatantly, not contemporary Christian music, but actual lyrics that kind of led people to believe that. And no secret that I'm of Christian belief, and so worship music for me is still something that's very important in my life. And probably over the last 10 years, I've been playing in a church for about the last 10 years, three different ones. But songs like How He Loves by David Crowder are still, I have a hard time playing those songs. Those songs are so instrumental in what I believe, and combining both of those two things for me, playing music, listening to music, and then, that song being important to me for what I believe still touches me in a different way. Yeah. And I think that worship music in general gets a bad rap. And I think that's where that Creed kind of.
Well, actually number 7 on my list is, pulling the car over. You sent me, Is This the End? An acoustic version of Is This the End? And I actually had to pull my car over, I'm not joking. When I was listening to it, I had to stop. I had to stop my car. I literally could not hold it together. It was like that song hit me so differently than any other song I'd ever listened to in my life. When I listened to the lyrics, I literally had to stop what I couldn't function for like a couple minutes. I listened to it like 6 times on the side of the road. I'm not kidding. And I don't know why. I've heard it numerous times since. It's still very powerful, but I don't know if it was where I was at in my life at that time. I'm not even really sure, but I remember vividly, like I had a gray Mazda 3, and I was literally like going to work and like pulled over, and like it's like, wow. Because I remember
it's kind of funny that ties into those secret and hidden things that you find, like all that old, I found that all that Creed stuff before they put it out on a whole album, but those songs like that.
Oh yeah,
insanely good.
Yeah, and the ones that they actually changed the lyrics. That's an acoustic version. They actually changed the lyrics in the electrified radio or album version. But yeah, no, there's songs that hit differently. There's no doubt. For me especially. I have literally hundreds of songs that depending on what mood I'm in, hit me differently. So
I think as I was putting this list together throughout the couple of weeks that we put it together, I think that while I have a list of great songs that are high for me on that I want to listen to on a regular basis, I just picked about 7 or 8 that I mentioned that are there, that are just they're above everything else. They're not numbered. They're not
Mine is
1, 2,
number
3,
1
4,
is
5.
Boston more than a few.
Well, I know. But I felt that some of those still have enough of a connection to certain things in my life that I needed to put a couple songs on there.
Yeah.
It's and as silly as it sounds, I actually have this on my list. I'm going to say it, and I'll let you move on to like kind of what I've got about 2 more things I want to talk about. But this was the opening music to Star Wars.
Yeah,
is music. It's John Williams.
Yep.
It's classical music. It is still something that is, as far as I'm concerned, it's still the most anticipated piece of music in the history of the world.
I don't know if there's, in modern civilization, if there's probably 100 people that have never heard some version of that.
But you see the words on the screen and you're waiting. That wait, that 3-second to 4-second wait between Long Time Ago in a Galaxy Far, Far Away is the most anticipated feeling I've ever had in my entire life. And it's got to be.
It's arguably
and that's
valid.
Music.
I'm sure that there's absolutely. I wouldn't want to argue it, but I'm sure that you could if you wanted to. But you're probably more right than you know.
I'll tie that into one of my last two. I don't like musicals at all.
Yes.
Okay, Moulin Rouge is okay. But I love movies about music.
Oh yeah.
Almost Famous is probably one of my top 5 movies. In fact, it might have been. I'll have to look back at my list on Burke Reviews.
High Fidelity.
Almost Famous. High Fidelity.
Yeah.
Even going back to what's the funny one? Blanking on it. The guys goes to 11. Why am I blanking on the movie?
Oh, yeah. Hello, Cleveland.
Yeah. Can't think of why am I blanking on the name of the movie?
Yeah, man.
I'm going to have to delete this part out.
Yeah. Jeez. Wow.
Anyways, but movies about music really are very special to me.
Yeah.
I know that John's also going to listen to this and kick me for not. I still haven't seen Rudderless, which he's been trying to get me to see forever, and I still haven't seen the new one with what's her name from the
Lady Gaga
pop music scene. Yeah, Lady Gaga movie. I can't think of the name of it, but I still haven't seen that one yet either. But the ones I have seen are awesome. I mean, they really convey a feeling of music and being there and being in those. Spinal Tap is the movie.
There it is.
That I was thinking.
Yeah, it is.
But Almost Famous was a life changer for me to see that movie and to see those actors and to kind of get that feel of the bands from the 70s. That was, but so any movies about music I love. There was a movie called Frank that was loosely about Frank Sidebottom, and is kind of about a band that goes through a lot of basically torturing themselves to try and put music together. And it's another really good movie. And just movies like that really reach out to me. And I think it's because I'm so close to music that if they're talking about that, I want to see it. So
yeah,
but that's kind of my next to last one. What you got? Anything? What do you got on your list?
Let's see. I got a few things left. Yelling Freebird at your concerts. Always sticks out to me.
And why? Why at any point in time didn't I just learn the riff?
I mean, know.
Okay.
When Matt was my roommate, it was his birthday and we went to see Creed, and Skillet opened for them. Speaking of god rockers.
Boy.
And I'd never seen Skillet live, and holy moly, do they put on an amazing show.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm just going to kind of skip. I dig Skillet because of that show. I mean, I still listen to them occasionally. My 40th birthday, I was in downtown Disney. It's Disney Springs or something now. There's called Raglan Road. It's this Irish bar. I was working on some Irish car bombs or something, and they had these dude playing a mandolin and another guy playing a penny whistle, and they played anything you could. They took requests from Prince to Metallica, and they played it with a mandolin and a penny whistle, and it was good.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard that story.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, we've kind of talked about these stories here and there, throughout our history, but I don't think I've ever heard that story.
Yeah, that was my 40th birthday.
Wow.
Went over there, and I was like, I want to do something different. I'm like, let's drink some Guinness and whatever, and it's because I'm an adult now. And dude, these guys were awesome. And that kind of falls into the street performer thing that I love people that play good music on the street. And, those guys, of course they had a tip jar or whatever you want to call it, but that kind of it's kind of the same difference.
Nice.
But I dig stuff like that. If guys, are that unrealistically talented, they can pull off. And they did Kiss by Prince with a mandolin and a penny whistle.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, Google that. I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning hockey fan. I'm literally since inception I've been a Lightning fan, and obviously it goes with it. But when you go to a game, the team comes out to Thunderstruck by AC/DC, and it's one of those. I'm a huge sports fan, and I like AC/DC and Thunderstruck and Lightning. It works better than you would think it would. I mean, you think, oh, that's kind of corny or cheesy or, cliched. No, it works.
Like a top 50 for 50.
I mean, like when the lights flash on, the dun dun.
Yeah.
It's
an anthem. Is that what you're telling me? It's an anthem.
It's an anthem. If you didn't want to run through a wall, you would after that. Trust me. Skip through what if anything else here.
So I'm gonna while you're looking, I played a trumpet in a marching band. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. The uncanny timing of music, like right song at the right time. I think that's divine intervention because that's me. But if I'm something happens, like,
I would say that separates a good wedding DJ and a bad wedding DJ.
Yeah, well, my wife got a promotion there like last week, and we went out to dinner and celebrated, and we were pulling, kidding you not, we were pulling onto my road, and More Than a Feeling came on. Top that.
But that's for you though. That's not for her.
No, I mean, but that's what I mean for me, because I was excited, proud, or whatever. I was like, you know what? And then I was like scanning through she's got crappy radio stations in her car. It's like
country. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, and that was the last thing. It's circled. It's number 13 on my list of all things. The country music argument. It's because everybody tells me I have to hear this song and you'll probably like it, but nobody will listen.
Actually on your list.
It's on my list because it always sticks with me that anybody that listens to it tells me they've got a song that I'll like. But if I say, okay, well, listen to, pick one of my songs, I mean, anything
Pantera
anything by Pantera, yeah, or listen to Get to the Gone by Static X. Oh my God, how do you listen to this? Yeah, that's exactly
Stormtroopers of Death.
That's exactly
Milano Mosh.
Right,
Milano Mosh by Stormtroopers.
That's exactly how your country music makes me feel. Oh, you're just saying that? No.
Nope.
No, that argument I will be forever associated with that argument. Anybody that knows me knows that if they want an argument, I will give them one, and I will never, ever not argue about it because I'm happy to.
I'm shocked that it made your list. Tells me how passionate you are about it.
Yeah.
I will say that if they're record companies that are going to listen to our podcast, I'm going to give you a little tip. I will buy a box set. End of sentence. It started with the Led Zeppelin box set that came out that had 2 songs on it that hadn't been released anywhere else.
Yeah.
I am a sucker. I will stamp sucker on my forehead when a box set comes out.
Really?
Appetite for Destruction, the deluxe one that just came out not too long ago.
Yeah.
Bought it right away. I paid for it. I don't pay for music much anymore if I can't get it on Spotify.
Wow.
But Led Zeppelin box set, when I bought that, it was like, wow, you've taken all their stuff and taken the best of it and put it in one spot and then given me some bonus. And this is the only place I am a sucker for box sets. Just big sucker.
Actually, didn't know that.
Does that come to a surprise to you?
Yeah, actually, I didn't know that.
Really? Yeah, I think I finally got rid of the CDs from the box set just a couple months ago, and was it called Inconium, a box set or whatever it was? Anyways, but when that box set came out, it had, hey, what can I do on it? And I had to have it. And from there on, it was just every time I see a box set that I love, I own it.
Wow. That is news.
My last thing will tie into where we started with Snoopy and Red Baron. I'm also a sucker for Christmas music. Oh, most assuredly, Burl Ives has to be put on at some point in time in my every year for Christmas. But all the Christmas music, Elvis singing Christmas, the Rat Pack singing Christmas, Burl Ives, anything that has to do with Christmas music. I love Christmas music. I don't like anything past like 1984 that was made for Christmas music. But oh, wait a minute. When was the Yoko Ono one?
When was Wham-ageddon? When was the last Christmas I gave you my heart?
Okay.
Whatever prior to that.
Prior, whichever one was first, the Lennon one with the Yoko Ono singing and the kids. Whatever's before those, it is good. Everything else past that,
and it may come as a complete shock to you that I am 1,000% the opposite of that. If I never hear Christmas music again, I'm cool with that.
My wife hates me for it. We get to that time of year, dude, and we're putting up the tree.
High five her for me. Don't even tell her why. Just say George said give you this. High five her for me. I'm down.
I will. I'll put it on the TV. I'll put the classic Christmas mix on the TV, and just
hell no.
It makes me feel so festive.
No, not part of
what,
it. Not on
you
that.
Got anything to tie up on your list there? Or you got anything else?
The only thing I didn't mention. Well, I mean, there's a couple I kind of skipped over, but selling your airbrushing out in front of the Def Leppard concert when you had cards made up when you were trying to do your airbrushing.
Oh my god!
Out in front of the USF Sundome.
I don't even remember that.
You, me, and David Colbert. You actually had cards made up, and
I know I still have one of those cards.
Yeah. And
wow.
We were out in front of Def Leppard concert trying to sell people to airbrush their denim jackets. I remember that.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Am I that old? Is it just going away or?
I don't know.
But that's why we have these conversations is I don't remember that. But I mean, I do now that you said it. In fact, I can see, did David bring the one guitar that I had done as a test?
And I had a shirt. I was wearing a shirt that you airbrushed. And then you had your leather jacket with your denim vest on over that you had airbrushed.
Which the right arm had flames from the wrist up.
Yeah.
And the left arm had the American flag from the shoulder down to halfway.
Yeah.
On the elbow. Wow. That's going back quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, that's my, what is it? Parting shot.
Parting shot. It certainly was a parting shot.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. This is awesome. When I had this as an idea, it was really a question mark of whether it was going to come off right or not. But I mean, we're sharing stuff that's kind of personal for us, but hopefully everybody out there that listens kind of maybe has their own stories.
Reminisce with their own.
Yeah.
How music affects them. And you can email us.
Yeah. And let us know. We have a Patreon. You can help us out. Again, we don't do this for money, but we do it because we love it. And we want you to reach out to us and talk to us. It's MusicMusingFeedback@gmail.com. But if you want to help out the Patreon, all the information will be on the notes. We don't have to talk too much about it. But this is fun. This is great. I think I'm really happy with the stuff that's come out. Unfortunately, about 6 other things have come out since we started talking. that I want to put on my list. So maybe if we can get, our lists together, we'll throw them up on the website as well at some point. And maybe with a little bit of, story behind some of them. Or we'll throw out the list and then you can listen to the podcast and hear the stories about them.
That sounds better. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds good.
Yeah. Well, awesome time, brother. Thanks for putting your list together and sitting and talking to me about it.
Absolutely. Love doing it every single time.
Yep. And we'll probably catch you in the next couple of weeks for the new episode.
All right. See ya.
Okay. Have a good one, man.
Yep. See ya.
Yeah. We want to talk to you about music, so reach out to us at musicmusingfeedback@gmail.com.
You can also find us on most social media sites by searching Music Musing or George or Craig Seibert, SYBERT.
And you can also find us on Twitter as MusicMusing_ as well.
Thank you for listening to this Music Musing podcast.